So today I want to talk to you about crate training and how useful it can be for any life skill for any dog, but also how important it is that you get it right. So I'm going to show you some bits and bobs with Penny over the course of this little video, but what I want to talk to you about before we get started is that it's essential that you don't just put a dog in a crate, because some dogs find that very scary and very frustrating, and it can cause a bit of an anxiety pang, like a panic button getting pressed, which if we do that first and foremost, we have to work incredibly hard to get rid of it. So when we're crate training, the idea is that we teach our dogs, our puppies, that this space is a safe space for them. It's somewhere where they can go, where they're not going to get bothered, where they can rest properly, where they can do relaxing activities like chewing something, licking something that's edible and digestible. And it's a space that they are going to feel completely comfortable in. And the reason that crate training is so helpful is a lot of our dogs don't have an off switch. They don't come with an off switch, unfortunately. So by teaching them that a crate is a rest space and a safe space for them, we can help them to regulate their activity levels day to day if they're not naturally going to take themselves off for a nap. So when we're talking younger dogs, we can use a crate to make sure they're getting enough sleep, because puppies need so much sleep, a lot more than a lot of us realise. So actually we can regulate their exercise stimulation versus their rest and nap really effectively if we crate train. But alongside that, if your dog becomes injured one day, which hopefully would never happen, but if we've got to regulate their exercise due to their rehab on an injury, or post-neutering even possibly, or cruciate surgery or anything like that, if we know that they're used to a crate and they know that when they're in the crate they should rest, we've automatically got an easy system to be able to take them through that rehabilitation after anything like that really effectively. So it really is quite useful and important for a lot of dogs. The other thing that you've got to bear in mind is if your dog ever needs to be kennelled, they're going to be much more used to that type of situation where they're restricted access-wise to the area that they're in. Also, if they do have to have an overnight stay in the vets, maybe, hopefully again that would never happen, but if it does, if they're crate trained, they're going to take to the veterinary kennels much better than if they're not. So by crate training, what you're doing is you're also building up your dog's ability to cope with restriction, because if they're in a crate, they have to stay within that space, obviously, but they can't roam about. If there's something at the other side of the room, they can't go and access it. And a lot of the behaviour problems that I see and help to treat are often based in frustration or a lack of self-control. So just playing crate games with your dogs and getting them used to being and spending time in a crate also helps resolve or prevent that type of issue as well. So crates, all in all, should be seen as a positive for your dog. They're not a prison. They're not somewhere that we should lock our dogs away when they don't want to be there. But if they're used properly and appropriately, and if they're introduced and trained properly and appropriately, they can be one of the biggest blessings for your dogs. One of the other examples I've got is if you go on holiday. If you go on holiday and actually it's not a dog friendly place that you're staying away with them, then you can take the crate, you can set them up in a space, you can make sure they're not going to chew anything that they're not allowed to chew, or it might even be just staying with family and friends or something like that. It is just, it's a brilliant resource that I think all dog owners should take advantage of, really. So I'm going to show you some basic crate games that you can play with your puppies and your dogs today, but what's really important to note is that you should always move at the pace of your dog. So some dogs take to it really quickly and they go, oh right then, this is snug, I'll lie down and chill, but others will take just a little bit more work. So don't worry if by day 4 of your crate games your pup still doesn't want to be locked away in there. That's absolutely fine, it just takes a bit longer sometimes, but the most important thing is that we build it up at your dog's pace and we make sure that they're really comfortable and calm and relaxed whilst they're in there, because effectively that's what we're going to use it for. You need a nap, bud, let's go in there, have a chew, off we go, and then we've got that ability to regulate. So we'll get started with Penny in a moment. Okay, so we're going to show you today some of our crate games. So I've got my little crate here, and all I'm doing with Penny is just placing some food inside the crate for her to see if she can look for it. So I'm not going to attempt to close the door. She's completely free to leave the crate if she wants to. And if she does leave the crate, I would just use the food to guide her to go back in there. But what I want her to be associating the crate with is all this yumminess arriving on her doorstep. So out she comes, snuffling like a pig. Penny! So I'm going to guide her back in. And then I'm just going to keep that super duper yummy. I'm using just boiled chicken. Always going onto the floor in the crate for her to snuff around for. So as they get better at this, which is this is something that I have practiced with Penny, because she's quite used to a crate now. What we always do is we give them a bit of a jackpot on the floor and shut the door. And then whilst the door is shut, we would continue to let the food be arriving. This is all part of Penny's daily food ration, so I'm not overfeeding her. I'm not using fatty treats or anything like that. This is just part of her daily food ration because she's raw fed anyway, so she's on an all natural diet. So some yummy tasty chicken is just enriching that diet as we go. So I weighed my chicken before we started so I can know how much I'm giving her. But what I want to be encouraging her to do is just use her nose, stay in the crate, and rather than worrying about where I am and what I'm doing, I want her to be enjoying this enrichment game, basically, of search for the chicken while she's in that crate. Now, one of the things that I quite often find is that dogs can be a bit unsure about the rattling. So whilst the chicken's going in, look, we'll get her looking for all of that. And then we're just going to rattle these doors around a little bit. What I want to see is that she's not really reacting at all. She can hear them clunking backwards and forwards. This is a daycare crate, so it's quite old and well used. But I want to make sure that she's not too worried. It's on the floor, Penny. Not too worried about the fact that there's all this noise going on. So I'm making that as we go. I don't want to see her jumping or clawing at the crate or anything like that. And as far as the first session goes, that would be as much as I was looking to do. So even here, look, I've got more chicken in there, and I want to open the door so she's got access to leave. Don't miss this bit here. But I want her to choose to stay because she's got a nice fun activity in there. So that's kind of our first step. Something else that we can think about doing is putting a nice clear cue in place with our crate training. So we say, once we practice this for a little while, we say our cue, crate, good. And we point at the crate and put that food down in the crate. It's on the floor now, for her to pick up. And as soon as she goes in there and she starts picking up her own piece of reinforcement, we just say nice, clear, good, which if you watch one of our other videos on marker training, you'll know is how we point out that Penny's got her behaviour right. So if she wants to come out, she can. I'm not going to give her chicken for coming out though. She only gets chicken for going in. And then we use that nice clear cue. Here we go, Penny, this way. Crate. Good.